on where you are. And I'm Asha from Faculty of Technology, Rajat University of Sri Lanka. And without taking much time, so I will move into my topic. So, Pemi, you can move the next slide.
Okay.
So, if you look at the mathematical biology, it helps us understand how infectious diseases spread and behave. So, mathematical models help to explore the complex interactions between the environment, ecosystems, and the spread of disease. If you that major outbreaks in the 21st century have shown how important these mathematical models are in guiding decisions to manage and control such disease effectively. So, move to next slide. Okay. So, the mathematical biology is an interdisciplinary field that use mathematical models and techniques to understand, describe, and predict biological phenomena. So it is a continuous process. So like you can see in this chart, so it's a continuous model. So we need to validate time to time once the method develops. So it applies mathematical concept to study systems such as disease spread, population dynamics, genetics, and ecological interactions, and helping to gain insight into complex biological process and inform decision making in areas like medicine, conservation, and also public health. So we are looking at in this talk. So next slide. So the purpose of today's presentation is to explore key research challenges in globally and in Sri Lankan perspective facing for infectious disease control and discuss the role of mathematical models in disease controlling. Move next slide. So the infectious disease have been leading cause of death in many developing countries. These diseases are caused by harmful agents that can adapt and evolve, leading to the emergence of new diseases and return of the old one. For example, diseases like AIDS, SARS, drug-resistant bacteria, and Ebola are recent threats to the global health. So additionally, antibiotic resistant strains of disease like TB, pneumonia, and gonorrhea have developed, while disease like malaria, dengue, and yellow fever are spreading to new areas due to climate change. So the predicting disease dynamics is very important when we talk about the infectious disease control. And to help control the spread of these diseases, scientists use mathematical models. These models are based on certain assumptions and variables, like I told you earlier. It needs certain kind of validation. It should be done in time to time, and they provide crucial information such as the rate at which the disease is spread, the contact rates between people, and the conditions necessary for outbreak to occur. So by analyzing these models, researchers can answer important questions and confirm existing theories. So the optimizing these interventions also, we need to have a kind of mathematical model to interpret our data. And also, mathematical analysis of this disease model help us understand how infection spread, while computer simulation allow us to predict long-term trends and make sense of available data. So understanding how a specific disease spread helps to taking preventive measures, and epidemiological models have been very helpful in forecasting and planning effective treatments for infectious diseases. So we can take informed public health policies implementation by using these mathematical models applies in infectious disease control. So move to next slide. So if we look at the global research challenges, the most important challenge is complex transmission dynamics because variability in transmission based on population density, behavior, and environmental factors, this transmission dynamics change and it was really complex. So challenging including these factors in a model is another big issue. So the next slide. So if we look at the real-time data integration, so this difficulty of gathering timely and reliable data, so the uncertainty in predicting the effectiveness of interventions due to evolving pathogen characters are also impact the intervention. So for example, uh, you are much familiar about the COVID-19 vaccines. During that time, there were a number of vaccine failures occur and vaccine varieties were occurred. That is because of these variants. So impact of these interventions also depend on the possible variants which we can emerge during the intervention period. So it is also effect for the mathematical model. So that is also an issue. Move to next slide. And as I said earlier, the real-time data integrations. Because of the difficulty in gathering timely and reliable data across regions, so it is also challenging to develop mathematical model for infectious disease control in global perspectives because the importance of integrating data in real time for more accurate models need very accurate data and continuous data. So it is really important to have that challenge addressed as well. Move to next slide. So the co-infection scenario is another challenge. So the modeling disease that co-occur. For example, in here, I have mentioned the emerge of the TB and HIV in Ethiopia. So the co-epidemics of HIV and TB outbreaks is one of the serious disease in Ethiopia that demand integrative approaches to combat its transmission. So challenge is understanding how co-infections are alter disease dynamics. So that is also there. Next slide, please. So if we come to the Sri Lankan perspective, dengue, malaria, and other vector-borne diseases. There are a number of vector-borne diseases in Sri Lanka. They are significantly affect for the public health aspects in Sri Lanka. So these diseases are primarily transmitted through the bite of infected vectors. So the unique challenge in controlling these diseases in Sri Lanka is the number of vector species present and also the environmental factors. Move to next slide. So as I have mentioned earlier, the climatic factor, the climate and environment factors in Sri Lanka having a tropical climatic environment. So it creates an ideal environment for most of the infectious disease vector to breeding and spread. So changes in weather patterns due to climate change further complicate control efforts because influence of climate change on disease transmission as well as particularly for vector is very difficult to catch in a timely manner. And also warming and other manifestation of climate change, including changes in precipitation with increased flooding in some areas and drought in other areas. These have important implications for vector-borne diseases through their effects on pathogens, vectors, and hosts, as well as on our ability to prevent and treat these diseases vary because of these climatic variables as well. So and there is a challenge how models can help predict future risk and guide mitigation strategies in this scenario as well. Next slide, please. So the other challenge is the disease surveillance. Gaps in real-time disease surveillance and data collection in Sri Lanka is really challengeable. While there are efforts to control these diseases, challenges in public health infrastructure, including insufficient surveillance, lack of resources for vector control, and limited access to healthcare in some areas, uh, they hinder effective management and response to outbreak. So urbanization and population movement also uh, uh, support for these disease surveillances as well. Because rapid urbanization and the movement of people between rural and urban areas also contribute to the spread of infectious diseases, especially vectors, and as well as the disease they carry. So this will further increase due to poor waste management and inadequate water storage practices in both urban and rural areas, and it also increase the risk of breeding habits as well. So need for better tracking and reporting mechanisms and better surveillance mechanism in order to use for these kind of mathematical model for infectious diseases. Next slide, please. So if we look at the advances in mathematical biology for disease control, the, the first most important thing is interdisciplinary collaboration, like we do today. So there are some mathematicians and some computational biologists and biologists working together to spread this information. So likewise, we can create interdisciplinary collaborations in order to have this kind of models. So need for collaboration between mathematicians, biologists, public health experts, and policymakers should be practiced. For successful collaboration, it depends on building mutual understanding and respect, clear communication, and defined roles, and as well as shared commitment to the ethical development of robust, interpretable models. Because the importance of diverse expertise in refining model is well it should be well understood by these collaborators. So each and every person has a certain role playing when developing this model. So they should act wisely and they should work together in order to have this kind of models. Next slide, please. So if we are looking at about the technological integrations, so the role of AI, machine learning, and big data in improving model accuracy is very important. But in Sri Lanka, we hardly use uh, these technological integrations in disease predictions. So, alongside this focus on data-driven insights, a growing recognition of the need of transparency and interdisciplinary in AI systems has spurred collective collaboration among clinicians, data scientists, and multidisciplinary research teams of software engineers, quality experts, and domain specialists in other parts of the world. But in Sri Lanka, we are working in a small teams where we do not integrate these technological tools into disease prediction models in especially biological disease prediction models in Sri Lanka. So we need to work on that. And there are some potential advanced computational techniques in real-time forecasting, like machine learning models. So we need to have a kind of these machine learning models, especially in healthcare. The results from these models may match clinicians' guidelines. And the reasoning behind their prediction is often unclear and difficult to interpret if the clinician doesn't know the if the clinicians doesn't clearly understand and question the decision made by computer. Tools to ensure that with these data, the predicted results are accurate or not. So always it should be done with close collaboration with these clinicians to make this use of technological integration into this AI model as well as the biological data. So next slide, please. The other thing is we can use more comprehensive and accurate data gathering tools to collect this timely data. So advancements in sensors, wearable technology, and digital health tools can be used for infectious disease control efforts as well. We can have because as I have mentioned, one of the challenges is having a poor infrastructure facility in health, most of these health sector institutions in Sri Lanka. So they can utilize these kind of advanced sensors or wearable technology like things to collect accurate data without involving much human activities. So move to next slide. If you look at the how to overcome these challenges, there are global efforts for better modeling. So they encourage international collaboration for data sharing and model development. For example, the Global Health Data Initiative initiated by WHO gives very clear idea about how each and every country collect the data in a same manner and how they incorporate these data into one model while working together. Both these mathematicians and these biostatisticians and clinicians as well as the researchers. So we can have that kind of model systems developed in Sri Lanka in order to control these infectious diseases. Move to next slide. So in Sri Lankan focus, we should strengthen the disease surveillance systems like in other parts of the country. And we need to implement climate-based models for vector-borne diseases. These are the two major areas that we need to focus in infectious disease control, especially vector-borne disease control research in Sri Lanka. So you have a much more area to use your knowledge to support for this infectious disease control program in Sri Lanka as a collaborative work. Next slide, please. So that we can build a resilience. So we can enhance public health systems to quickly adapt to emerging threats. Without going the risk stage, we can identify these risks at early stages and we can inform general public as well as the health policymakers to give advanced treatment before emerging as a pandemic. Next slide, please. So, there are a number of key adaptation strategies for responding to vector-borne diseases practices in Sri Lanka. But I think by using mathematical model, we need to integrate all these methods into one model and predict how the disease transmission occur or how can we have a good mathematical model for these infectious disease, specific infectious disease control program. So the public policy making decisions and also vector and disease surveillance program, vector control program, all these should be combined together to work for this model. This is the future prospects in that we have related to infectious disease control by by integrating mathematical model in Sri Lanka. Next slide, please. So, in summary, if I mentions the mathematical biology's potential, we should understand because the mathematical modeling and statistical inference provide a framework to evaluate different non-pharmaceutical and pharmaceutical interventions for the control of epidemics that has been widely used in infectious disease control and prevention. So, addressing global and local challenges, another point. So, mathematical analysis and modeling is an important part of infectious disease epidemiology. The application of mathematical models to disease surveillance data can be used to address both scientific hypotheses and as well as disease control policy questions as well. So, the next point is future outlook. So continuous research, data sharing, and interdisciplinary research work should focus and the need for a future where mathematical biology significantly impacts global health outcome, and we could adapt the same system in Sri Lanka in near future if we work together as a team. Okay, thank you very much. So,
Thank you, Dr. Asha. Any questions? We have one question in the chat. Is there any latest research on dengue with climate change impact, especially in Sri Lanka?
yes, actually, the thing is, there are a number of research teams working in both climate change impact on dengue and as well as the vector control efforts, but vector surveillance research. So they should work together because in one place they are doing certain research data gathering and they are not uh, manipulate these data in a whole island. But the research outcomes, the results are district-wise in some spots. So once the outbreak occur in that districts only, they can predict the disease is having this kind of impact by the climate. But that models cannot, that prediction cannot apply for the other parts of the country because they didn't have a continuous data support and as well as because of this climatic variability. In some parts of the Sri Lanka, we have a very dry zone, dry hot environment, and the other parts we have a wet climate. So the this occurrence of disease is quite different in this area as well, depending on the monsoons coming. So we need to integrate all these data into one model and should have a predictions. So if the disease occur in a particular area, this particular area having these kind of climatic conditions, so how we can predict. And the same should be used in the other parts of the country as well, with incorporating the data gathered from these areas. So there is no such data available for Sri Lanka as a whole island, but there are certain research groups doing certain parts of the country. So there is a certain models developed, but it was not still practiced by the dengue control unit because of this lacking of continuous data and lacking of prediction